Hello, everyone. Have you ever thought that maybe you want to go ahead with your financial, but then you realize you are not there yet? No problem, because today a speaker is going to share the expertise and the knowledge how to get there, even if you are having fixed job, you are working in the corporate, and all about financial freedom and how to get to the passive income and get to the level of the finance where you would like to go. Elena, welcome you in our podcast. I'm very happy to have an interview with you today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. That's very nice.
Okay, let's begin. Last time you were invited for our Frankfurt Club meeting, and the speech which you were presenting to our entrepreneur women, they really love it. It was great, eye-opening, and giving also the new way of looking to the budget, to the financial statement. And what was also very impressive, you start that journey very early, because I think we can say that you are below 30, yeah?
Yes, I just got my vaccination registration for 16 plus. That's how we have it in the Czech Republic, below 30, everything is 16 plus, which was a big compliment, to be honest.
Okay, this is really amazing. Okay, Elena is the founder. She's a founder of. She's a financial coach. She's the founder of Elena Lyubchich company. She used to work in an IT American company in Oracle, but right now she is in a transition, changing the job, moving to Scandinavia IT, a leading company in Europe. She was also leading the women leadership in Oracle. She's living in Czech. She's having 3 master degrees in finance, economy, and law, and also MBA studies in Czech Republic. But her big passion is helping people to get to their journey to the financial freedom. And I know you are very passionate about it, especially in the last time when we had you. The ladies mentioned, oh my gosh, she's so passionate, she is full on fire talking about. That's why, Elena, let's talk about finance and let's pull the curtain and share the strategies, how you get there and how are you doing it. So this is very important for us. Okay, can you share?
Sure, definitely. I'm having so many thoughts around because I can start from here, from there, from everywhere. But I was recently listening to one interesting interview when the gentleman who is a coach, very known business coach in Russia, he was saying that basically we need to understand that a good normal money we start to make closer to 30. Of course, there are 16 years old startuppers, genius, IT people. But if we take the average, it's also very important to understand that, of course, in the 20s, early 20s, we still study, right? And we invest, but we invest our time, our resource into our future. So because investing is not only about the money, it's about our time, it's about our energy and health, it's about our relationships we build, it's about how much do we travel and learn the world and stuff like that, right? So this is also a lot about investing. And then closer to 30s, it makes sense, of course, that we already get some experience. We might be changing jobs or positions, we might be getting into management. And of course, our incomes is different, comparing to early 20 or mid 20. But what is very important to do meanwhile is to make sure you control your expenses, because we're human beings. Whatever we get, we can spend everything. This is normal. This is our nature. And of course, whenever our income is increasing, our expenses are increasing as well. And there are even stats saying that basically within 3-4 months from the increase, people start to feel that it was an increase. Yeah, and you can maybe even relate to that, saying, okay, last time I got 20%, where are those 30%? Nobody knows. So what is extremely important is to learn how to control your expenses. And nothing crazy that, I don't know, we live in a garage or something like that, but you really need to know how much do you spend. And the best to do it in categories, right? You can do living category, which means your rent or mortgage, it's your food, groceries, whatever, going eating somewhere. And then it's your services, phone, not phone, all of those things, internet and stuff like that. Then you have your education, self-development, anything related to this, because again, this is your investment, sort of say. It's traveling and stuff like that. Then specifically for women, everything related to our beauty and our health, because of course we want to stay as beautiful, as young looking, as long as possible, because it's also our career, it's also our representation of ourselves in society. And then in my case, for example, I have a category related to my social life, because it's extremely important for me to have a network, to go for dinners, to spend quality time with people, and of course it involves some sort of expenses. And then I have a special category which is a charity, right? It might be charity helping parents, it might be charity helping organization. Doesn't really matter what charity means for you, but it should be something that you give back to society, which is extremely important in my opinion. And if you know your expenses, whenever you have increase, you still can control. And if you have an increase, or if you have a bonus on one time something, it's easy then to say, okay, I get, let's say, 20% decrease, and 10% I put into increasing quality of my life, and another 10% I put into savings or additional savings, right? Because one of the category which I didn't mention, because it's not an expense, is an investment. So in the investment, you also need to see where exactly do you invest. Is it more like insurance? Is it more related to your pension in 40 years? Is it related into something that you would like to do within a year or two? So this goes there. But very important to understand that our hunting, sort of say, nature, we need to keep spending, because otherwise it doesn't make sense for us to develop ourselves, because you feel like, okay, I work more but nothing is happening with my life. So that's why it's very important to be conscious about all of that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I remember in our meeting in Frankfurt, you mentioned, and people who are building the financial freedom, they know the magic machine is not existing, isn't it? This is the fact, and we have to accept that fact and live with that. But I would like to even go further what you just mentioned about mindset. And I think the magic machine, we can flip it a little around and phrase it. The magic machine is our mindset, the way how we perceive the incoming expenses. And I remember when you mentioned majority of us living in the you talk about the balance sheet, living in the right side of the balance sheet, payables, receivables, what we earn, what we spend. Not so many people going into direction of building the assets or having the assets. Can you also say about this mindset thing which you mentioned about serving the others? You remember when you mentioned about paying this, paying that once we get the salary, because in that case, this is how we starting. We did the classical way, getting a knowledge, go to the job, getting a salary. But can you say more about that?
Definitely. I think it's one of the key concepts that probably many of our listeners already heard. It's called pay yourself first. Because whenever we get a salary, we pay to everybody, right? We pay to the landlord, we pay to the banks, we pay to kindergartens, we pay to groceries, we pay to Amazon founders, we pay to everybody, Netflix founders and stuff. And whatever is left over, we pay to ourselves, to our future selves. And then imagine your future self looking at you saying, man, you had income, you had a lot of money, you had all the time of the world, and you didn't do anything about it. And now I'm old, sick, without my property. Why did you do this to me, right? It might sound a little bit harsh, but this is how it's going to work, because it's important to keep in mind that nobody is going to take care of us. If they do, very good. If they don't, we need to be ready for that. So that's why once coming back again to the very boring basics of all of that budget. Whenever you have your expense, you know how much you spend and you know how much you can save, that it should be the minimum of what you're saving no matter what. Like, unless you're, I don't know, really in a critical situation, there should be the minimum. And minimum is usually at 10%. And trust me, you can get it way easier to like 20, 30, maybe even higher. And if you pay those 20, let's say 10, 20% to yourself first, so you're serving yourself first, and then you pay your expenses, this is the start of the financial prosperity. Because exactly as you, Cornelia, mentioned, we spoke about it last time. People have tendency to be at the zero balance. So whenever I make 100, I spend 100. Worst case scenario, I make 100 and spend 120 just because I have a credit card, which I'm like trying to pay off, but it doesn't work whatsoever. Yes, and this is the mindset of basically poor mindset people, or poor people mindset, better to say. And then there is a mindset, okay, I save a little bit here and there, but there is an opportunity because there is something, I don't know, vacations coming now, summer, we can travel, I will spend all of this. Doesn't make any difference. So that's why we need to start with the so-called wealth formula. When there is an income, there is expense, and there is so-called delta, the difference. And this difference, no matter what, needs to go into investment. And again, it can go to the savings, which is good enough, but there is inflation, and inflation is killing our savings. That's why we need to make sure we don't only save, but we also invest, because everything is getting more expensive, right? And we spend more and more because of the inflation. Specifically last year and this year, we can feel it. Yeah, and we still live in Europe. Yeah, but we feel it quite well. Imagine how in the emerging economics countries people feel it. And the only way to basically hit the wave of the inflation is to be in the market, not to be the consumer of this market, but to be investor of the market. Because if you invest into something, price of that is getting higher, you're the one profiting from this. And there is no other way to profit from the inflation, is just to be in the market at the same time, right? So I hope that's this is what I wanted to hear, because when I start to talk about finance, I can't stop talking about passion. But definitely paying ourselves first, making sure we take care about future Elena, future Cornelia, future others. Because nobody will. If somebody will, thank you very much, we will have additional stream of income, which is always good to have. However, we are living in a capitalistic world, in a capitalistic society, with a markets economy, and we need to understand that there is supply, there is demand, and there are all those economics basics. And there is a pension which somebody is paying right now. We are paying right now for people who are right now being retired. But in the 40 years where we cannot make sure that will be enough of young people paying for our retirement.
Yeah, you touch very absolutely good point, because all those people who are going into direction of passive income, financial freedom, they clearly understand they need to take charge of their future, which doesn't mean if I have a nice job in the corporate, I will get my pension. Of course, I will get, but my social level might be not at the same level what I'm currently right now. And understanding that concept is really key.
And can I just add here something? Because I was 6 months ago, I participated in one economic forum online, and there was a phrase which completely, I still can say, when changed maybe my mindset, which was already in a shape, sort of not a bad shape, but they were saying that a stable job, any kind of stable, corporate, not corporate, is an imaginary feeling of safety, because we think we have a job and we have stable income, and we feel, why would I have another stream of income? Why would I bother? Why would I do on Saturday morning doing something else than sleeping? Because I have this feeling of stability, which is very much imaginary, very much. And again, thanks to, I don't know, planet, whatever, we experience that right now. we saw it, what happened in 2020, and we understand that nothing is stable in this world. Nothing, even pandemic can happen. Honestly, who could believe the pandemic can happen 3 years ago? Seriously, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why we saw that nothing is stable, including jobs. And for example, now when I was changing the job right now, literally 5 days ago, I was saying it's a risk. But it's exactly the same risk as staying in the job, because you don't know what a company's strategy is, right? Maybe for me, it's at the end lower risk to change and to take the step proactively than to stay and being, for example, fired at some point because of the changes, because of the restructuring, stuff like that, right? So it's very important to understand whatever we have today is very nice and very good, and we should be thankful. But we should also understand that it's never forever, right? And that's why it's so important to take care of our passive income, or at least our savings/investments, which can help us to survive longer, if I say it in a very harsh way, and at the same time to think of the additional streams of income. And you might think like, oh my God, I have 9-to-5 job. What should I do on top? You can do so many things, yeah. And but if you have a mindset of how, then life is changing drastically. So that's why, again, just to highlight what I wanted to say is thinking that I'm having a stable job and stable income can change overnight. That's why it's so important to make sure you're in a full control of your finance, because right now, who is in full control of your finance is your employer. That's it, not you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is brutal, but this is the reality. This is the reality.
But it is a reality.
And, yeah, this is the thing. And you know what, like you mentioned, the big difference between poor and rich people, I mean, the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, clearly explaining what is the difference between those people. And another example, which also for me, it was like eye-opening, giving very simple example, was the story from Warren Buffett, when he was on the lift with people, and it was like one coin laying on the floor, and nobody was really dropping that coin because they were feeling a little bit embarrassed. Why should I drop this little coin, And Warren Buffett was there. And the Warren Buffett, without looking on anybody, like checking the image of the faces, went to the knees, dropped that coin, and said, another dollar to my million freedom. And this is basically how those people are thinking. Doesn't matter if it's the little money, but the little to little, it start making a difference,
Absolutely. That's what I was, one of the things which I'm teaching is also how to increase your income, right? And the most obvious option is just to go to your boss and not to say, I need. It's never a good idea to say, I need. It's to say, I think my results showing this, of course, stats and numbers and everything, but to say, I think I deserve more because, right? But apart from this very obvious, which most people are not using because they think they will not get it, it's also to see if there is any way you can sort of save, right? So it could be to revisit your bills, because again, we are living in the capital world, when capitalistic, when companies are having they're competing, right? So for example, even utilities and this kind of companies, they're competing between them for clients. And for example, I heard recently in the Czech Republic, Vodafone changed completely their tariffs, and it's why not to revisit it exactly today. And I was making a bit of like joke sort of, because my bank offers sort of a cashback, but it's ridiculous. Like in a month you get maybe 100 Czech korunas, which is like €4. And it sounds ridiculous. Why would I even bother to download the app and blah, blah, blah? But if you think that €4, you can buy stock for this money. Mm-hmm. I was buying the ETF, the pool of the stocks sort of for Africa, for that covers all the main companies of Africa. It costs €6, right? So I mean, you can say like, why would I take this coin? Why would I install this app? I'm not that poor, You're not. But if you see opportunities here and there, and just because I installed some app, which I never saw afterwards, I installed it. Now it gave me, in fact, one area for whole Africa, right? So if you see it from those perspectives, and of course, I'm not teaching people to be greedy and to make sure I've saved everything in here and there, and I'm not gonna buy nice shoes because no, you choose a quality over quantity, that's for sure. However, you buy one good thing, which is conscious consumption. So now, for example, I'm choosing a computer and I'm thinking, should I buy Mac? Should I buy Dell? Should I buy this? I'm not looking into cheap stuff which gonna be just that in 6 months. No, but I'm choosing between, and the best concept, by the way, here, which I love as well, which also changed my mind at some time ago, you choose best of possible. So best of what you can afford. So let's say you can, for example, I'm looking into Dell, which costs around 600 euro, and Mac, which costs 800 euro, for example. And I'm thinking, which one should I buy? And my first question is not which one I like more. Can I afford both? Because if I say honestly, I cannot afford that, which is sad enough, but it's good to say, because otherwise you go into mindset of poor person showing off something which you didn't make money for, or going for vacation which you cannot afford, right? So your first question should be, can I afford both? Yes. And then I choose best of what I can afford, because if I cannot afford this, I need to choose a third option, and then I choose one of those. And buying the best of what you can afford prevents you from living in the debt, because then you go to Monaco, which you cannot afford, and then you pay off your loan till the rest of your life, or till another 3 years. But at the same time, you're not choosing something what is cheap, something which is not making you happy and in fulfilling you, right? Because it's also very important to choose very high quality stuff. You better buy one computer, one bag, one whatever, phone, doesn't really matter. But you buy the one you want and still you can afford it. And again, because some people teach us what? Buy everything the best, and you dress for the job you want, not the job you have, and all this, you're worth it, which is not bad to keep in mind. But you should be also very much conscious about, okay, today, maybe I'm not living in the, let's say, apartment I dream about, but it is good enough, it is big enough, it is in a safe part of the city, stuff like that. My dream is there, but the delta between where I am now and my dream is my savings. And those savings multiplied by, of course, being the investment by 10, 15, 30%, depending on the tool, will bring you to that flat. One day, maybe in 6 months or 1 year, but not being broken, but being like, feels so good, I'm there. And I did it. And Kim Kiyosaki, by the way, she was writing as well, or one of them, one of Kiyosaki's. They were saying she bought her car, her first car, not from what she made out of the working, but she bought it from the investment money. Yeah. So she bought it the moment she could really easily afford it, not taking a piece of her money, but from already passive income. She said, now I deserve my Mercedes, and she bought her Mercedes. Yeah. And I think combination of those two things, choosing quality over quantity, but at the same time being conscious of where I am and what I can afford, will give you the beautiful balance of not being too greedy, at the same time not being so posh and then paying for another few years for that.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it how you are explaining that one, because this is exactly how the magic formula works. Consciousness, revising your needs, revising your opportunities, and where you are. It should be like a balance. I was having the same dilemma, you know what I mean? When I need to focus on delivering, for my project, good video, good audio, and then the dilemma was, what should I invest in that time? Which device should I buy, And at the end of the day, it's what your investment is going to pay you. Saying investment, phone which you're going to buy, or smartphone which you're going to buy, or PC which you're going to buy, and it's the same. And I fully resonate because my mom actually and my family was living the same concept. I'm not coming from the rich family, but I'm coming from the family who was working hard in the sense of, bringing the good values. We never suffer. But the mindset which they gave us, it was always focusing on a good quality and one single piece, which is stay longer. Because, we are not so rich to buy stuff randomly, based on our needs. And like you mentioned, another thing is, the phrase, which is also like my guidance, you need to know what you want. Otherwise, you will be living the life if somebody is projecting for you. Even like offering cool, smartphone, bags, clothes, whatsoever. And everything is implemented to every single decision we make in our life, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's how marketing works. You need to understand that we are surrounded by marketers, marketing, basically professionals of marketing, right? And this is how if you go out, you see all the posters. And if you think how all those advertisements are done, they're really touching your feelings, either because you're fat, or because you're slim, or because you're blonde, or because you're dark, or they're touching your feelings, or because your phone is not good enough and stuff like that. So we really have to have a shield, understanding that this is okay, they're just trying to trick me, right? And that's something I also mentioned on the Frankfurt meeting community, that when people come to me, and obviously the first question they ask, it's so funny. Even when I meet the guys, they were like, "Oh, you're into investment, what should I buy?" And I'm like,
really?
Okay, let's start. Okay, usually on the days I don't even do that, right? But it's just funny because everybody, the first question is asking what to buy. And this is exactly why I started to be not a financial advisor telling you what to buy. I can tell you what to buy, right? It's easy. My whole concept of what I'm doing is to explain how it works. Because if today we have a session, I'm telling you, Cornelia, look, this is your profile, sort of investment profile, which includes your everything from the age to marital status to your risk profile, everything of who you are. Then I tell you, this is what you can get from each and every tool, and let's see what we want, right? This is how we say. And if tomorrow, by some reason, good or bad, I'm not around, you know what to do. You don't need me anymore. You might just consider, look, I'm not sure here. What do you think? But in fact, you will get the whole understanding of how everything works. And this is my sort of a mission, to explain to people how easy and transparent investments are. And you don't need to be genius of, IQ 200 to understand. What you need to understand are yourself and your needs. And that's it. And the very last question what you're going to ask is what to buy. But my answer would be, because you choose what is close to you, what you understand, and what you believe in. Because if I believe, let's say, in the clean energy, I really believe in 21st century, this is our future, because we have no other choice. There is no other choice. We will die, all of us, in 40 years otherwise. I believe in that. Somebody might say, I really believe into, let's say, cloud computing technology, right? Amazing. Somebody says, no, you know what? I still think that gold is a gold. And that's it. Gold existed whole our life. IT exists only 50 years. I believe in gold. Your choice. Amazing. But you make a conscious choice, not because Elena told you so, or some guy Elon Musk tweeted, because right? And this is coming from knowing what I am, who I am, and what I want. If I know that this is a level of comfort I need, this is the country I want to live, this is how I imagine my family life, for example, all of that, this is how much I know I can invest right now. Based on this, I choose where to invest and where and how afterwards. But this is a 5% of our time spent together. Basically what to buy. Honestly, I can send you Excel file with the things I'm buying and problem solved. But it will not give you anything unless you understand yourself and your basic. And trust me, once you have this conscious understanding of yourself and your personality, nobody can tell you and say like, hey, buy this because you're worth it. You're like, honestly, I don't like your cosmetics or something like that, right? Because you choose what is yours. And no advertisement whatsoever will never change your. Actually, I was very much surprised. I'm sorry to make it a bit longer, but I was so surprised because maybe in autumn time, I read an article about how much people spent on online shopping during pandemic. Because apparently was nothing to do, nowhere to spend. What did I do? Without even thinking, I invested everything. I said, okay, I don't travel. I don't go to the restaurant. I don't do my nails. Where? Everything. But I just paid my flight and my food. It was, everything was closed, seriously. And then I read this article that apparently people spend so much on Amazon and everywhere. And it was very funny picture, like a sort of a man, everything on us saying, all the stuff I bought during my quarantine and now I don't know what to do. And I thought, it didn't even cross my mind. It's not like I was greedy and didn't want to buy. I didn't even cross my mind to buy stuff online. And again, talking about mindset, right? Somebody said, oh, I have free money, I don't travel, let me buy 200, I don't know, dresses. I don't know where the word is dresses. I've worked from home for the last 15 months, nowhere to dress anything, right? So apparently, again, how mindset work, if you cannot spend here, you will spend there. But if your mindset is, opportunity to save, again, nothing crazy, but if you say, honestly, I canceled like 5 trips in 2020, literally. And they were sending me money back for my tickets. What did I do? I said, my extra money, I just invested that all. Everything I invested. So, okay, I don't know, 200 euro, Lufthansa paid me back for my ticket to Bilbao. I was like, okay, those money, which I already said goodbye 3 months ago. Now it is my extra income. It goes to investment.
Perfect. No, it's awesome. This is basically the magic machine, the mindset which is in us. So we are basically create the magic.
Exactly.
Elena, can we quickly give like a little formula for our listeners? What you just said. So what would be the first one? Like looking on the budget, if we can generate at least 10% of the savings. So
I would say if people think, what can I do today? Yeah, because we said so much, but action. Yes. Talking about corporate mindset, right? Action plan, deadline, owner. Owner is us, deadline as soon as possible, action. Action number 1, to track your budget for a month, because you really need to know how much you spend, and especially your black holes, I call them. Is it online shopping? Is it ASOS dresses? Is it what? Is it subscriptions which you don't use? So you really need to understand the best if you do it whole your life, or at least a month. You really, if I ask you in a month, how much euro did you spend for your groceries, you should be able to say exact precise number, because this number will stay over a year plus minus the same. And this is how we can do financial planning afterwards, because you know for sure how much you spend, which means how much you can save. This is number 1. Number 2, you look into how much you can save. And you should, of course, some months are different, right? Because sometimes we travel, sometimes we don't, sometimes we need to buy more expensive gifts to our parents or something like that, doesn't really matter. But it should be the minimum. Absolute minimum is 10%. And even there is this amazing book, The Richest Person in Babylon. It's like a book, 100 pages basically, and the whole book is saying you need to save 10% and invest those 10%. That's the whole point of the whole book. But this is exactly how it works. So you should have a minimum. The best if you have even automatic payment from your bank, that it goes somewhere. That's the best. You need to learn how to live without those 10%. Then there is no excuse, seriously. If you're more like a freelancer, then you need to plus minus calculate, obviously, right? But you need to set minimum for yourself with no excuses. Then, of course, you know that what is in between of 10% and what you can normally save, let's say, and of course, try to save this as well. Planning of obviously that here I need to spend a little bit more and stuff. Again, financial planning. If I know that my mother has birthday in March, I know I will have extra expense, right? Or if I know I want to spend my vacations in September, I know that September will be less saving, more enjoyment. After that, you look into your savings. Maybe you have some carded savings, right? So usually people have two situations. First, they don't have savings at all, and we build a plan, or they have already something, they don't know what to do with that. So with savings/investment, what is important to do is to see, is sort of, you need to understand that savings, which is like sort of emergency fund, is very much different from investment, because emergency fund, it's something you need to have access to. Yeah, if something happened, if you need to pay for something, there is discrepancy in your bills, and apparently water company comes saying, oh, you need to pay 500 euro. You're like, oh my goddess, oh, where do I take it? Yeah, and then there is investment, which is sitting there until you need it, right? So here it should be, experts say around 3 salaries, so 3 spendings should be in your sort of a current account / very, very conservative investments. Yeah, and then investment, which you don't touch until you decide it. So again, talking when we look into profile of person, say, what do you want? And they say, I want the house in 5 years. So we say, for 5 years, I don't look into this account, because if tomorrow is up or down or something, you don't care, because you are not dependent on those money. But if you say, honestly, within a year, I need to do, I don't know, reconstruction, different story, we choose different tools. If you say it's my retirement, we don't even look into this, and we just keep standing there and that you don't care what's happening there for another 40 years, right? So then you do this sort of mathematics. The best, I do it all in Excel. It's the best. It gives you all the calculations. And afterwards, you start to work on your mindset. But the magic, what happens here, once you have a goal, you really look into things differently, because then you look into stupid spending and you're like, honestly, I could spend those 200 into my investment, or I can make my purchase of my own apartment closer. I don't need this dress, or I don't need this. If you need it again because you need it, no questions. But if you're like, I want to make myself happy, that's what I'm saying. When we buy stuff, we release endorphin or dopamine, one of those. Yeah. And dopamine, I think it was, the happiness hormone, right? And you're like, oh, I bought it. It's so good. Honestly, when you go and buy stock, you release exactly the same amount. And I know this feeling. I was like, now I'm shareholder of, I don't know, 5 Oracle stocks, feel so good, they're growing. It's exactly the same. But this is how we work. If you see, you bought a dress, you wore it once, and then what? You're like, okay, good, that's it. Right? Yes. That's all. Yes, but when you see how they're growing and you feel like this feeling of fulfillment, that's different, right? So you try to release dopamine and any sort of hormones with a constructive way, with a constructive approach, not with the approach of a consumer's approach, because we overconsume, right? Look at our planet. We overconsume. Planet is, and one of the points which is extremely important, to be conscious, not only because of your budget, but because of the society. Look at the amount of garbage we have. Look at our oceans. Look at our CO2 emissions. It's incredible. I don't have car 50% because I'm afraid to drive, but 50% because I don't want to put additional CO2 emission into the world. I have metro 5 minutes from my house. Why would I buy a car? Mm-hmm. Why? I have literally, and this makes me even healthier, right? Because I walk more. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, somewhere deep inside, I'm like, I would like to have this one. It's beautiful. But again, we come into the conscious, because car is not an asset as long as you're not Uber driver. I'm sorry. It's your passive. And as long as I cannot afford to have another passive in my life, on top it has all the taxes, everything, right? All the technical reviews, of course, gasoline, which is part of your variable costs as well. But on top, consciously, I don't need it, right? Then why? If I would need it because I would work very far, I would need to take kids to the kindergarten, because I need to, constantly do the bigger purchase to the whole family of groceries. Of course, yeah. But my new office is 20 minutes walk from my house. It's just a coincidence, obviously, but I'm like, now I definitely not gonna buy anything for some time.
I fully understand. I'm just, when you have been giving these examples, I was laughing inside me because, like you mentioned, when the focus go, energy flows, and once your mindset is there, you are untouchable with this kind of super cells, let's say consumables. But I'm not saying it's bad, absolutely not. But at a certain point of time, you are distracted. You don't see those ones, and they are not like a shiny object. It's a different concept. Yeah. Now, for instance, if I already did that journey, I'm really looking. For instance, if there is a, let's say, good offer in terms of consumables, which help me to build my assets, then yes, investment. I will go for it. Yeah.
But because it's investment, that what is very important then to realize at that particular moment, am I consumer or am I investor? At that whatever you buy right now, today, when I buy KFC chicken wings and destroy my health, who am I? Okay, it's once a year. I love this. Once a year, exactly. I tell myself, okay, today I can do that. Because it's not investment, neither of money, neither of health. But it makes me happy at that particular moment and I really want it. Fine. But I give to myself clear understanding without excuses that right now, today, I'm a consumer. That's fine. But tomorrow, talking about, for example, techniques, if you need to buy the computer and stuff like that, if I buy a thing for 600 euro, if I buy a thing for 800 euro, what is the difference? If difference is only like, because it sounds better, it's not a good investment. But if this difference really gives you something which you cannot get in that particular model, and it gives you better camera, because it's important for your activities, right? For your business. If it gives you better sound, if it gives you better, software inside, of course, yeah, but as long as you invest, because you invest not only money, you invest everything, your time, your energy, all of that. As long as you invest, you're fine. Or if you don't invest, or like I'm looking into my jewelry right now, I love jewelry. I love it. Yeah, I'm Russian. I love jewelry. It's normal. We're all like that. And all my family know this is all I get for my each and every birthday, because this is what makes me happy. And if I look into something, I'm like, I love it. And it will make me happy. And I will wear it. And I will feel like different because I'm the woman at the end of the day. I will buy it. But I won't be making stories that this is my investment, is part of my capital, which is, by the way, with jewelry, you can count as your capital. Yeah, cool. Because it makes, yes, everything which is jewelry related is a capital too. So worst case scenario, okay, I can say I'm investing. And then, but still jewelry is a better investment than dress. Yeah, unless you lose it. Yeah, but those moments, I just say, I would like to have each different color. I want to have blue, green, red, rubies and stuff. It's normal, but I'm not fooling myself saying such a beautiful investment to do. Yeah. It's not. It's just something which makes me happy in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Elena, can you say to our audience, what is your strategy in the sense of like we touch base of assets, you can build your financial freedom building the assets in the sense of online courses. This is what I've done basically, because I used resources which I have, my knowledge, my expertise. So I invested that money to create online course which give me the passive income. You can also go in the direction of creation, which means book, video, whatever, and also the investment, which are stocks and properties. What is your strategy in that one, and how that correlates like diversity as well? Because one of the key factor for financial freedom is the diversity as well. Yeah, absolutely. Can you touch base and when to start diversing? Early at the beginning, yes, no. Yeah. What is your strategy?
Definitely. I really believe in investing into your human capital. Yeah, I'm in my late 20s. And honestly, I was calculating, I have 10 years working experience. And out of 10 years, Only 3 years I didn't study at the same time with the work. Yeah. So because I did my bachelor, I started to work. I did my master. I was already working at the corporate. I was finishing it remotely. Then I had 1 or 2 years break, which I did my French certification, English certification, Six Sigma certification, blah, blah. So break was very much not break. Mm-hmm. And then I went to do my law studies and the MBA on top, which I paid everything from my pocket, everything. Like early studies, my parents, but late studies, I paid everything by myself. Again, of course, I could spend those money for beautiful vacations, but I said, I get my degree now because I feel like I need it. Of course, I spoke with many people saying, what do you think? I spoke with my coaches, mentors, everybody I trust. And everybody said, you're 25, go for it. Yeah, when I was 25 back then, or 26. And now it all pays back. Everything pays back, because I know that one of the reasons I was accepted to the new job, they laughed that I have low background, which honestly, at some point I was like, do I really need it? Why do I do? Why each and every weekend I spend in the university, normal people spend in the parties? Why? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is also an investment. It is also an investment. And I was like, well, we really like that you have low background. It will help a lot. I'm like, yeah, but you need to be really passionate. But you need to have patience about it, right? It takes time. Things take time. It's in everything. So my early strategy was to save, of course, as much as I can, but at the same time to invest into myself. Yeah, because I invested a lot into my education, not only academical, but also certification, Six Sigma, stuff like that. Again, important is not to invest into trash. You better pay more, but you get Six Sigma, which everybody knows. Or you better, go for MBA, which is widely recognized. It is more expensive than some trash on LinkedIn or something, but you know why you do that. But you try, of course, to save capital as well, the money capital. And then, of course, I also started my journey of relating to family. My mother is a teacher, my father is an engineer, my brother is a doctor. So nobody is anyhow related to finance whatsoever. But it was a long story. How did I get to finance? Because I also was being told in school that I have no talent in math whatsoever. And yeah, my math teacher keep telling me that I have zero talent in math. And I still hope she's alive, because I want to bring her my Master of Finance and just do that. I hope she's alive, because I need to do that one day. But it was a long story. How did I get into finance? Because I had a brilliant teacher in my bachelor, and I had corporate finance class, and I loved it. I was, oh my God, so amazing. And I went to the exam at the end, and I was telling him exactly the way I'm talking now about finance. He was like, what do you plan about master? I'm like, I don't know yet. Go into that. And I went to corporate finance, and I also want to find this guy. I still remember his name, and I want to send him the email that one word, this is so important. That's, again, coming to the purpose, coming to the mission. One podcast, one word, one phrase can change your life forever. And I know people who changed my life forever, just saying, you can do that. Yeah. So then, of course, even though I studied finance, it's not that, that stocks and bonds exist, but how to buy, where to buy, what to do. So I started to touch things, right? And I went into the financial consultants, who are very much different from what I do, because they just make you sign certain things. They say, yeah, this is a great fund, go for it. And you're like, okay. It was a good and bad experience at the same time, because I was able to save, because I had commitment of those contracts which I signed, but at the same time it was high commissions, high fees and stuff like that, which is, again, I still keep telling to myself, if I wouldn't do that back then, probably I wouldn't have this capital, because I would spend it somewhere else, right? So there was a good thing about it. But then I was like, okay, honestly, I'm smart enough to do it by myself. Why should I pay to someone for that? And this is how I get into the active investment, because this is sort of a passive investment. You just send to some fund and they do something with your money. Usually you don't even know what. And then that's how I started to buy stock, bonds, ETFs separately, investing into crypto partially, into P2P, which is peer-to-peer lending and stuff like that. So this is how I diversified. So right now, and also very important to diversify currency-wise, right? Because you want to have something in the country you live. So I have things in the Czech Republic, because this is how it's safe from the exchange rate, right? So if I have things in Czech koruna and tomorrow, like it was happened last year, euro was skyrocketing, it was 10% difference, my Czech money are in my Czech money, right? Because my euro, if I had to buy something in euro, I was paying 10% more, which is not good. Then I have some stocks in the US stock exchange. Then I have things in European stock exchange. So I basically have three main currencies. Okay, Czech koruna is not main, but important for me, right? But for example, I was thinking, should I buy something in Swiss franc, because it's one of the main currencies too? And I said, I have no connection with Switzerland whatsoever. Why? So you diversify as per location, you diversify with the currency if you need so, because if your whole life is in Eurozone, why would you care, right? Or in dollar zone. And then, of course, the tools, right? So once you build your portfolio, you want to understand what is the most important for you. Is it dynamic? So you want to have big risk and return, but don't forget that return is the same as the risk. You can have plus 50%, you can have minus 50% at the same time. Or is it more like a stability, because you want to, let's say you need your money within a year or two, so you don't want to risk too much? Or is it something for a long time? Or so here you again talking about profile and understanding, you see what do you want. So in my case, I'm more into dynamics, right? Because I have my reserve fund, which is in the Czech korunas here next to me in my Czech pounds. And I know that within 5 days, I can have my money on my bank account if something happens, but I don't expect magic in terms of return. Of course, it's 5, 10, 6%, as long as it's more than inflation rate, it's fine, or quite more, like double. But of course, if I invest into some stocks, certain stocks, and 2 weeks ago it was long discussion around inflation in the US and everything was down, S&P 500 was so like very bad, but I was those are not money for tomorrow. I know that to come back now, it's already back with a good return. So then you choose basically diversification strategy depending on you. In my case, most of my portfolio is stocks, so stock related ETF. I have bonds again in the Czech or in the world, let's say, differently. I'm not a big fan of buying physical things, so I wouldn't buy myself, Elena. I wouldn't buy pieces of gold or something, because why? I can buy ETF for gold, for example. Like, why would I store here somewhere in Prague? Why would I do so? So I prefer to have everything electronically. I like a feeling of peer-to-peer lendings, because there are European and Czech platforms when you can read the story like, I divorced and I moved to another flat, I need to do the reconstruction. Or my granddaughter, I still remember the story, my granddaughter dreams to go to Italy to study, so I would like to take a loan for her that she can go there for a sort of Erasmus. And I did Erasmus myself in Portugal, and I remember it was one of the most beautiful time in my life. I'm like, I need to help this grandmother for her daughter. And you don't know, maybe this granddaughter now is somewhere in Italy enjoying her studies because of my small little contribution as well, right? So I love peer-to-peer lending as long as it makes sense. It's not micro loans for poor people who are paying 25% return on this, but those are the proper ones, the good ones, which you don't go to the bank, but you have better rate in those ones, but those are not micro ones. Those are those good ethical ones. So, and there are a few more things. Again, it's all about you. You just need to know how things work and what is more convenient to you, for example. And usually the very good classic advice is to have conservative things equal to your age, and all the rest you can distribute. So for example, in my case, approximately around 30% of my portfolio is, I think maybe a little bit more even, is in the conservative things. All the rest is in the dynamic things. But if I would be 50, for example, or like with my mother, She's invested as well.
Yeah, you mentioned that. This is
she's
crazy.
very
Once again,
excited
this
about it.
virus
And
of investment.
yeah, and she's speculating, and I'm telling her, you plan to retire in 5 years, and 4 even already, because we started last year. And she's like, yeah, I bought, I sold, I got my dividends. And I'm like, okay, reinvest. Should I buy something? Reinvest. You are in the accumulating stage, right? So we're now in the accumulating stage, and you should reinvest as much as you can, because I got my, should I buy something? It's like, okay, if it makes you happy, do, because again, you feel that you did something for that, right? You spent your dividends for something which will remind you your efforts. But if you don't need it, reinvest. She's like, okay. Yeah, so it's never late and it's never early. Yeah, maybe when you're at the very early stage, I did it, and I believe that it's better to invest into your human and professional capital without forgetting to build some reserve fund, for example. But it's not so critical, because what is critical is to get at the profession at what you're doing quite high, because again, around 30, you start to go exponentially. Because you invest, and even it's good to choose maybe positions which maybe are not paid that high, but you are progressing differently. Yeah, you might be staying on some positions saying, okay, they don't pay me as they supposed to, but I learn till certain age. It's okay. It's not all about the money. It's about your experience and your human capital. And then there is a moment that you already start choosing more materialistic things, because our life is changing. If tomorrow you expect a baby, I'm sorry, you cannot work on that for charity purposes, right? It's different. So yeah, and then of course, if you're a little bit already older and you plan to retire in the certain age, of course, you even, I think the law, at least in the Czech Republic, when you choose the pension strategies 10 years before your potential pension, they even prohibit you from choosing the dynamic strategy. Yeah, so they already also regulate that too, so people don't end up having being in the crisis the moment they need to retire.
Of investments, see something which is going to grow in a long-term perspective. Can you pull the curtain and say about your potential investment, which you did right now, and they will bring you the results going forward? I'm going to direction of your what you believe. This is what you mentioned. It's not a question, what should I buy? Your response was what you believe, what you resonate. Because some investors, they just buying the, let's say, Coca-Cola, you know what I mean? Like example, but others, they are going into more close to their beliefs, what the trends are saying. What are your potential investments which might bring you results going forward in the long term?
You mean on the stock market?
On the stock market,
on the stock market. What I personally believe is, first of all, cybersecurity. Because I honestly don't need to explain cybersecurity.
I know something about,
I mean, last 15 months, most of us work from home. We heard all those Zoom problems. Then even once it happened to our Toastmasters meeting, that somebody was just a naked man, and we didn't even get what's happening. Then it was hackers, sort of. So cybersecurity is something I absolutely believe in. I believe in potential of life science, pharmaceuticals, but not only, right? So everything related to even Johnson & Johnson, for example, not talking that it's an investment recommendation, but for example, they work a lot on the artificial intelligence, if I'm not mistaken, on MSD as well does the same, about artificial parts of the body, or how it's gonna be, all of those things. So if everything related to biotechnologies, I guess it's called, I think that is a good thing to look into. Yeah, artificial intelligence, all of this. I believe in clean energy, again, because we have no other choice, in my opinion. I believe in electric cars, definitely. And again, if you don't know the car, it doesn't mean you need to go and buy Tesla, right? Look, for example, in the European market, if you look into Volkswagen and those kind of companies, they are developing. Volkswagen is one of the leading, or even Toyota, I think, is working on that so much, right? So look into e-cars. And again, we don't mean one company, especially the very much jumping like Tesla, right? There are other companies which are great in this, which have great potential. I, for example, also invest in 2 regions. So you can choose the region for emerging markets. I have my heart and soul in Africa because I've worked a lot with the region of Middle East and Africa. I believe in African potential because I've worked with them so much. And I know how great and prosperous and beautiful people they are. The minds are so open. I believe in potential of Africa. I believe potential of Singapore. I believe potential of India. Again, I've worked a lot with them as well, and I saw how hardworking people are there. China as well. So, for example, I have my investments partially into emerging markets, but the concrete, again, countries / continents. Because if you go to African continent, they think only country-wise they have only South Africa separated. All the rest is basically African. But there are the biggest companies there. For example, I don't have anything in Latin America because I'm not so familiar with their economics. But for example, Argentina, I guess, is one of the interesting countries in there. But it's something I would personally need to look into and to see what is there, because it's very far for me. I never worked with them, so I cannot say much about that. Eastern Europe. For me as well, Eastern Europe is developing so quickly. I live in basically Central / Eastern Europe, and I can see that the Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, and those countries are developing. They have huge potential because of the human capital, because of the good education, but at the same price for work, let's say, it's not as high as it would be in Western Europe. So that's why I think many companies will be opening in there, specifically Hungary, Bulgaria. Those countries are sort of under the target. So that might be very good and interesting to look into those directions. I guess this is the main, but again, it should be something which is close to you, right? Because there are industries which I have no idea about, or I don't understand, or somehow I wouldn't think about it. I mean, now pharmaceutical industry was very much a big thing just because of the pandemic, but how many people knew Pfizer and those companies before, right? I know, for example, I was listening to one like interview sort of, they were mentioning Pfizer, but they said, but pozor, in Czech language, pozor, careful, not because of now, but because it's a good company with a very stable history, blah, 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 blah. So they were still looking into some companies which are developing not only COVID things, right? Or, for example, I know Novartis is working a lot with the cancer, right? And all of those. So you look again into the potential and try to avoid screams around. For this, there is a fundamental analysis, it's called. When you go into a company, you read all their balance sheets and stuff like that. It's called fundamental analysis. This is how you analyze the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully resonate what you are saying. Africa was also close to my heart when I was working in HP, supporting that region and Middle East countries. I agree with you. Potential is there extremely, especially looking what other IT companies doing, developing the whole countries is great. Yeah. And like you mentioned, very important thing is to look, this is how I'm personally doing as well, looking on the mission of the company. Who is the leader, the CEO, CFO, what the background they are having, what kind of, what they are representing. This is basically very important. Who is the founders behind the company, and that might give you the good indication. I'm Polish, that's why I fully understand the emerging markets. Yes, absolutely true. Yeah. Countries booming, but once again, you need to be, I think, laser focused. Because then it's all about to focus more.
Definitely. You should not have more than maybe 3-5 industries in your portfolio. In each, you should not have more than 3-5 companies. Yeah, because they're also competing between them. Yes. So it's good, let's say, if you buy pharma and you buy few companies, I'm not going to say the name, otherwise people think I recommend, but you know which companies I'm talking about.
Yes.
And they're competing. One is up, one is down, but your whole portfolio pharma-wise is good. The same technology, right? You can buy IBM, Oracle, Amazon, HP, all of those companies, right? And there will be always like this because they're competing for specifically cloud technologies, right? But then again, you don't go nuts saying like, okay, I'll buy all 15. Then you buy S&P 500 and that's all. But if you're like, okay, I want to do laser exactly. So my target is IT, and the IT, I'm targeting cloud companies. Perfect. Or I'm targeting artificial intelligence companies. Perfect. Or cybersecurity or semiconductors, for example. But you need to understand, not because it's IBM and I know IBM, because everybody knows IBM, for example, right? But you need to understand why, because I believe in the certain things they're doing right now. Or that's it. And as well, it should be ethical, because there are some companies, I'm not gonna say the name, that yes, they are they're doing magic in terms of their revenues, but you know what is the price, right? For me, I decided long time ago I'm not gonna invest into tobacco industry, into alcohol industry, into unethical oil, certain companies, again not saying the name, which are so harsh to our nature, which are having all those issues related to climate and oil problems somewhere in the ocean, right? So I decided for myself, I'm not going to contribute into this. I better contribute into clean energy or solar energy, but I couldn't find anything for solar. I guess it's part of clean. This is again my choice. I understand that it's still huge profit. They pay enormous dividends. But my choice not to take this because my values, because I know myself, coming back again to knowing myself. Nobody can come to me saying tobacco, whatever, amazing.
You can say, let me a piece, I know what I want.
I'm like,
even
well, nice. Well, happy for you. Happy for you.
But you know what, Elena, this is what you mentioned. Having a discussion with people, you can easily sense the direction, because then the questions slightly asked differently, but let's don't go in that direction. Okay, my last question is, what are you working right now in terms of project, and where we can find you, where our audience could find you? Where are the links, what you can share? What are the next events which you are organizing and project which you are working for?
On the 7th, this Monday, I'm having the webinar, which I'm having 3 a month, free webinars with the main concepts and where to start, basically, to track your budget and do the investments. So I'm posting it regularly on Facebook. I started Instagram and all those pages, but because of the personal changes, I didn't have much time to that. So I think the best way is to go to my webpage, which is elenalyubchich.com, and you can get in touch with me through the form, or you can just send me LinkedIn or Facebook message. That's totally fine. Maybe better LinkedIn, because Facebook sometimes marks as a spam and you don't see it, unfortunately. In terms of the project, so far I plan to continue this way, just to spread the words and continue doing consultation and do individual work, because it also gives me a lot of case studies, sort of, because I see how different people are and how different their struggles are. And sometimes, honestly, I cannot answer their questions because I never faced them before. So I do my research as well, with related to certain countries, for example, or certain brokers and stuff like that. So which is a great opportunity to learn, because it's easy to learn from book, but much harder to learn from the real life. And in the nearest future, probably, hopefully by end of this calendar year, I'm thinking to do the mini course of maybe 5 lessons on how to start Yes, because first of all, my resources are not unlimited. I cannot do that. For example, those 5 live courses each and every week, talking about investments of time in this or resources as well, right? I have other commitments as well. That's why I was thinking to record maybe 5 hours, 1 hour each. And actually, people were asking if there is anything like that. To focus it, I'm still thinking, should I focus it on women or to focus it on maybe foreigners living in the Czech Republic, or make it more general, maybe for Europeans, let's say, because of legislation specifically, only because of that, because it's very much different from the US and stuff like that. So I'm still thinking, should I make it more laser or more like a broad? I'm not sure yet. But this is the very, I like to do the kind of vision, but at the same time, I'm coming from corporate background where I know I need to make it a task wise and very concrete deadlines. I know that nearest future is to get as much experience, real life experience as I can, and to make something automatic sort of a course, just because this way I can help more people at the same time. And I can maybe focus on individual work without thinking about covering basics.
Awesome. So if people have individual discussion, specific question, you're open to take one-on-ones with them?
Absolutely, yes. On my webpage, I have a registration sort of a form, like they can book a slot. There are all slots available, so they can just go into either budget or investment, or else there is a career coaching, which I'm doing, helping people because I spent on the managerial position quite some time. So I also can help people to progress their career. I was doing mentoring as well, or I am doing still. So this is also, because it's also important. Sometimes you do all your math and you realize you just don't make enough. And that's it. That means it needs change. Yeah, so they can go to the webpage, elenalyubchich.com, and book a slot. It will come to me automatically. I will send a Zoom link and we can have a session whenever it's convenient for both of us.
Awesome. Elena, it was big pleasure for me and hopefully for our audience to listen your tips, listen your story, and start investing, because once you get there, it's so fascinating. The first thing, after your rituals, is not opening the social media, but up how your stocks is developing. This is really cool.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much, and looking forward. And it was big pleasure to have you in my podcast.
Thank you, Cornelia. Also, big pleasure for me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.